Hi, this is Andy from Orbit Media, and this video is to introduce you to the basics of SEO, the fundamentals, the key concepts, the most important things, the tools, the tactics that you need to get into the mindset of search so that you can drive a steady stream of high qualified visitors to your website and thereafter create lots of demand for your topics, for your services, your products, whatever your goals are. Okay, so the basics of search. So first I want to define the terms. Generally speaking, you hear this a lot, search engine marketing. And then you hear search engine optimization, and sometimes you hear AdWords or PPC. Search engine marketing is anything related to search. It's all the marketing that happens within a search engine, including paid and organic. Generically speaking, search for any key phrase. At the top of that page, you're going to see some ads. That is PPC, or pay per click, also sometimes known as CPC, or cost per click. And the highest bidder, generally speaking, right, people who pay get to the top of search results in that way. But below that is SEO. This is also known as organic search marketing. This is where you can't buy it, you have to win it or earn it. And so a search results page is a combination of both SEO and PPC, and together we would define them, or generally speaking, that's kind of SEM. Now, SEO is very special because it's a durable source of traffic. You don't have to keep working at it every day to keep getting visibility from search, because if you rank, people may see it over and over for days or weeks or months and years. Unlike email and social media, which you have to keep working at to keep getting traffic, search has this ability to sort of passively attract visitors over a long period of time. Every page has the chance to catch traffic like a sail catches wind. So unlike the oars on the boat that you gotta keep putting your back into, search is more like a sail. Now, when you look at the analytics for a specific URL or a web page, this is what it looks like when it's performing well in search. Page goes live, it's promoted maybe via email, and you get a spike in traffic when it goes live. But whether or not you get this long tail of traffic is determined by whether or not you were successful in search. Sometimes you might create a page that gets 20, 30, 50 visits a day. Sometimes even less, sometimes far less, and you might publish a page that just gets a little bit of traction in search, and it attracts a couple visitors a day, but maybe for a very long period of time. This is what a home run looks like in search. As the page begins to rank higher, as it begins to rank for more phrases, you can attract hundreds of visitors a day, sometimes for years. When you combine all the traffic from all of your pages, this is why search is so special. Search creates the ability to double or triple or get 10 times as much traffic over a period of time. So why do sites rank? There are basically two main factors. One is the website itself, on page, and one is other websites, off site. So the on page factor is about keywords. Are these pages indicating the relevance? Are they using the phrase? Can a search engine tell what that page is about? Content and keywords. The off-site piece is about links, whether or not other websites are linking to it. The industry term for these things are relevance and authority. So let's take a break for a quick quiz. Your website has a key phrase on it. There's a page with a phrase, targeting a phrase, and it links to another page somewhere on the internet. Great. So now there's yet another page on yet another website that also targets a key phrase, maybe a different phrase. And that site links back to your site, and it also links to that other site we mentioned. So there are three pages here, two of which are targeting key phrases, key phrase A and key phrase B. And there's three links. Links going away from your site, links between other websites, and links to your site. So the big question, which of these links and which of these key phrases affects your rankings? The answer? It's key phrases and relevance on your site, that's on-page SEO, and it's links from other sites to your site. That's authority. It's about those two main factors, authority and relevance. So let's dive deeper into this concept of authority, of love from other websites, of links from other authoritative websites. See, search engines are kind of this giant web of interconnected credibility. And when one site links to another site, it's like a vote of confidence. This goes back to the key concept inside the original patent of Google, right? How it started all, in Stanford from Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And here is a screenshot from that original patent. Whoa, I'm just going to admit right up front that I do not understand this chart. There's a lot of math here, and those guys are geniuses. But what we can tell from this is that there are two things here. There are pages, which are squares, and there are links, which are arrows. This is basically a little diagram that shows how authority and credibility are passed around from one web page to another, right? And how each page may have X amount of credibility, and it can then share that credibility with another page simply by linking to it. With that in mind, you could think of it this way. Links are just credibility, right? That's authority. And when one web page links to another page, it's passing some credibility to that page. Not unlike high school. As my friend Sonia Simone says, that Google's like the mean girl from high school. You can get her to like you, but you've got to get everyone else to like you first. So one kid in high school talks about another kid in high school, he's making that second kid more credible. And of course, if a lot of kids in high school talk about you, it makes you much more popular. Quantity is a factor. But the biggest factor in search is quality. When a very authoritative website links to another page, it passes an exponentially greater amount of authority. And that's why it matters so much to do good digital PR or outreach or networking or influencer marketing and blogger relations, because the super high authoritative websites have an exponentially greater amount of authority to pass, right? A link from a site with a domain authority in the 80s might be worth 8 links from sites with domain authority in the 70s, something like that. This is a generic curve here, but you get the idea. But how is authority measured? Can it be quantified? How much authority do you have? And does that site have? And the other sites that you might compete with, and any site that might link to you. It actually is totally quantifiable. So now let's look at how to measure authority and how to compare yours to other websites and how to evaluate the possible benefit of getting mentioned and linked to from someone else. Well, domain authority isn't actually like an official Google metric. The Google metric was called PageRank. Capital P, capital R, one word, named after Larry Page. And it was a scale of 1 to 10, and back in the day we all kind of knew there was a way to see your PageRank. Not anymore. They no longer share that data, so now other companies have created proxy metrics that emulate Google's algorithm and report back an estimate of the amount of authority that any page has. And Moz is one of the ways to get that number. You can use the Moz Link Explorer, which will show you the domain authority for any website. But all the other SEO tools have similar metrics. Ahrefs has one they call domain rating. Same thing. SEMrush has their own. It's called domain score. So there's all different tools. Bottom line, what we're measuring here is the likelihood that any page on your website will rank. We're also measuring the value of any link from another site to your site. Those are the two ways in which this is important: the amount of credibility passed from other sites to yours, and the competitive set in which you have a chance of ranking. SEO is about competition. It is an extremely competitive environment. After all, it's a top 10 list for every topic you can possibly imagine. It is a cutthroat, to-the-death blood sport that is insanely competitive. The typical search result, there are millions of relevant pages, but only 10 that you see on page 1 of the search result. Okay, here's how to estimate competition and understand whether you have a chance of ranking for that key phrase. One of the big clues that will tell you if that's a super competitive phrase is there a lot of PPC happening here? Just look at the top of the page. If it's filled with ads, if it's maxed out with 4 ads at the top, it's probably a very competitive, very valuable key phrase. That almost always means there's going to be more competition below those ads in organic SEO. Next, look at those top ranking organic pages, right? Are those famous websites? Are those famous brands? Are those companies that everybody already knows about? They are likely very high authority websites that would be very difficult to outrank unless you are also writing for a very high authority website. Another big clue is as you scan down through the links on these pages, if the target key phrase is in the link, the clickable link in the Google search result, that means it's probably in the title tag of that page. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but it likely means that there's smart, experienced search engine optimization people already working on this key phrase. There's a more scientific way to do this using Moz or Ahrefs or SEMrush when you look at that key phrase within their tools and it will estimate the level of competition, the difficulty. In other words, is your authority in the same range as the keyword difficulty? For this key phrase, you can see the difficulty is 52. Your page would likely have to have an authority of around 52 to be able to rank within for that phrase. Now, Moz makes a tool that overlays on Google search results authority metrics, which is really convenient. And unlike the Keyword Explorer we just saw, this tool is free. So install Mozbar in Chrome, turn it on, and then go search for the key phrase and scan down and look. You'll see the domain authority for all these high-ranking pages, 32, 32, 88, 80. And you'll see the page authority of these specific URLs, 43, 36, 65, 59. It becomes a test to see if the page that you're going to make is going to be in that same range of authority. If not, it's going to be a very difficult thing for you to rank for. So bottom line, if your authority is greater than the keyword difficulty, you've got a chance. And now we come to relevance, keywords, showing that you are in fact a good page on that topic. Where to use your phrase, how many times to use the phrase, where does the phrase go? So let's break down how to indicate relevance for your topic, for your key phrase on your page. The most visible places to put the target key phrase are also the most important places to put the target key phrase. This, I think, is surprising to people, just how straightforward this thing really is. So use your key phrase in the title tag. Use it in the header, as in the H1 tag. Use it, obviously, in the body text of the article and in the meta description. These are all the most visible elements and most important places to indicate relevance. The less visible places are far less important and just don't correlate as well with the relevance of the page and aren't nearly as heavily weighted as search ranking factors, such as the URL or alt tags or file names or keywords. There's so many little places you can put a key phrase. If you'd like to put them there, that's fine, but I wouldn't expect that to have a major impact on rankings or search visibility. So let's break it down. Use the key phrase in the title tag. The title tag actually is not on the page itself. It's in the code. In fact, it's at the top of the code. So there's just this little brackets and the word phrase title and then close brackets, and you should use your target key phrase in the title. The title actually appears in the tab at the top of the browser when you're visiting any web page. So in this example, how to research keywords, that is the tab above the address bar at the top of the page. And it's also, in many cases, the title is also the link in the snippet when you rank in Google. So don't miss the chance to indicate relevance. It's in the title. It's probably the single most important place to use your target key phrase. And leaving it empty or vague is a huge mistake. I have often said that a unicorn cries every time someone makes their homepage title tag say home. It's the worst possible title tag for a homepage because it doesn't say anything at all. The homepage title tag is probably the single most important piece of SEO real estate on any website. So make sure that the title tag on the homepage is at least telling people what you do, what business category you're in, what services you offer. Home is just super vague. It doesn't say anything to anybody. So the next most important place would be in the header. The header is on the page. It's at the top of the page. It's like the headline of the page. And you should use the target key phrase once in the header. Here's a screenshot of that same article, How to Research Keywords. And there it is. It's at the top of the page. That's the H1 tag. It is the headline. Oftentimes, but not necessarily the same as the title tag. Next, of course, use the target key phrase in the body of the article, right? Now, there is no rule. People always ask me, but there is no rule, no hard, fast rule. Maybe a guideline. Of course, yes. Use the phrase a couple of times every so many words, like maybe every 500 words. Okay? So here's a screenshot from that same article. The article is about researching keywords, and you can see that in the body text of the article it says, how to research keywords or keyword research or research keywords. Here actually is a good example of how vague writing is a problem in search. If your copy sounds like this, we are a solutions provider solving clients' problems that create value in the market segment. That doesn't say the services you offer, the problems you solve, or the market segment you're in. Kind of an issue, right? Specificity correlates with both rankings and conversion, so be descriptive in your content. Then there's a fourth place where you can use a target key phrase. It's in the meta description. The meta description is also not on the page itself. It's sort of in the code. It's a place to certainly use the target key phrase. The meta description is also, along with the title tag, something that together comprises the search snippet, your ranking, if you were to rank, what it looks like. This is a screenshot of the Yoast plugin, which is an industry standard WordPress plugin that makes it easy to manage your title tags and meta descriptions. In fact, it draws a little line down here that turns green if it sees that you're using your target key phrase and that you didn't exceed the recommended character limit for those things. So there you go. You have now indicated relevance for your target topic and key phrase. There's actually a third key search ranking factor that we need to cover beyond authority, beyond relevance. There's something called user interaction signals. And this is super interesting. It's partly about what visitors do after they click on the search result. They land on your website, what happened next? Did they stick around for just a few short seconds? Or did they really stay? Did they engage? Did they read? So what the visitor does after they click is something known to search engines, and they can use that in determining whether or not you have a high quality page. So these are some examples of classic user interaction signals. Did the person click on the snippet in the search results page and go to the page? The bounce rate. What percentage of people went to a second page? Or did a lot of people just leave after seeing that one page? And then the time on page. Did they spend a lot of time or a little time? Now, in my experience, what I'm seeing in my analytics and the analytics of accounts that I have access to, there's actually not much of a correlation between bounce rate and high rankings, but I do see and feel a correlation between time on page and high rankings. The pages that get disproportionately high amount of time in seconds are also the pages that seem to be ranking higher. And this makes sense, and a lot of SEOs believe and understand this, and it's really perfectly sensible, right? So step 1, visitor searches. Step 2, they click on a link and go to a web page. Step 3, after 3 short seconds, they hit the back button. That's a bounce. Spent very little time on the page. Step 4, they scroll down the search results page and click on a different link. Now they land on a web page, and they spend 5 long minutes reading, engaging, scrolling, looking around, still on that same page, and then they hit the back button a second time, also a bounce. But the second page was visited for much longer. It's the short click versus the long click. It's called dwell time. How much time did the visitor spend on the page after coming from search? Search engines know it, and it's totally reasonable that this would be used as a search ranking factor, right? So, how do we get people to stay on our pages for longer? That's the test, right? This is part of SEO now. So, formatting really makes a big difference. Use headers and subheads and bullet lists and numbered lists, bolding, italics, internal links, and multiple images. These are all ways to make your content more scannable. A video at the top can make a difference, right? Right at the top of the page, put a video. Visitors more likely to engage with that. And whatever you do, don't ever let them hit a wall of text. This is terrible for creating the long click, and therefore it's terrible as a user interaction signal and your search rankings. Besides, it's not how people want to use web pages. The Nielsen-Norman Group did a study and found that based on the average number of words on pages, based on the average time on pages, based on the average reading speed, they're reading at most 28% of the words on pages. Really 20% is more likely. So your visitors are scanning anyway. This is digital content best practices. Think of the words of Jason Fried. Short paragraphs get read, long paragraphs get skimmed, very long paragraphs get skipped. Don't write paragraphs longer than 3 or 4 lines maximum, just for your reader's sake, but also for SEO. And this is what I'm doing more and seems to be working well for a lot of people now is use multiple images. Here, scrolling through a page, look, there's an image. As that image goes away, I'm in a scroll depth, there's a list. Scroll depth, there's a video, there's another video. At this scroll depth, there's a screenshot, there's another screenshot. My goal when creating content is to make sure that there is no scroll depth at which there isn't at least something of visual interest. Text is like a desert and images are water. Give your readers a drink, right? That's just how to keep people happy on your page. Not surprising, our annual blogger survey shows that every year more and more people are using multiple images on their content. 58% of people are now using more than one image on a typical article. So that's it. It's really a lot about quality. It's about making something better than everyone else online. It's about having the most useful, helpful page on the internet for whatever you're creating. So as we said, it's a very competitive environment. So our goal is to really make a great page and to help Google help people find you. It's to be good. So literally, our job in search is to make the best page on the internet for whatever topic we're doing. So go deeper, longer, harder. Make that page good in any possible way. Make it more scannable, more interesting, more useful, more thorough, more detailed. Include more answers and more evidence than every other page online. And you have a good chance of doing it well. Got a good chance of ranking. You're definitely on the right track. So again, this is Andy from Orbit Media. We love making these. We hope it's useful. You can find more videos on this YouTube channel on related topics, including semantic SEO. It's a good next step. And more articles on our blog that go into much more detail on each of these topics. Okay, thanks again. We'll see you on the next video.